This is Blenderstyle, the show where we discuss a blend of heavy and extreme music. On this episode, Rammstein, Mutter. This album was released 2001 on Mutter and Universal Music. Cheers, gentlemen.
Cheers.
Cheers.
So Nathan, this is your pick. I'm pretty familiar with Rammstein. Like everyone else in the 90s, I heard Du Hast.
Mm-hmm.
I heard that first album. I heard the second album after that. And I think I heard this one too. This is their third one, I think, right?
Yes.
And then kind of after that, I fell off the Rammstein bandwagon, started getting into more, different kind of metal stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Casey, you've heard of Rammstein, yeah?
Yeah, I was never on the Rammstein bandwagon.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
They were too industrial for my taste.
Didn't you like Fear Factory?
I did, but Fear Factory had double bass and
That's true.
better guitars
Also true.
and a better vocalist
Also true.
and better songs
Also true.
and Dino.
True, technically.
And they like Mexican food. I never really got into Rammstein per se. I think, like you said, Du Hast was the song that kind of introduced us all to him, and
they were on some soundtracks and stuff.
Yeah, I never really got into them, and I don't know why. I mean, I think they were too industrial for my taste at the time, and just
I had some friends that thought they were super cool because they were German.
Yeah.
So they just were like, oh, it's German.
You gotta check them out.
Yeah. They memorized the lyrics and stuff. They're like, it's cool that I know a German song.
What are they saying? I don't know.
I don't know. Yeah. So Nathan, why'd you bring us Rammstein Mutter?
Well, I've always been a fan. I've always liked this album, and I just wanted to see what you guys thought about it.
So this is like, here in America, we'd call this like industrial metal.
Mm-hmm.
But in Germany, they have their own genre for this.
Yeah.
Which is some German word.
Neue Deutsche Härte?
Yeah, New German Hardness.
Yeah.
Is
They
what
came
Wikipedia said?
up with this when Rammstein came out, too,
Is this the genre used to define what Rammstein sounds like?
Basically? I mean, I don't ever use this.
I've never heard. So when I was researching it, there's this whatever, but there's a subgenre of it that was the original New Dutch sound, I guess, and then New Dutch Hardness came after, and Rammstein was kind of the forefront.
So they list bands like Oomph and Nachtblut, which are the only two bands I recognize from that long list of bands I looked at that were part of this genre.
There are more than four, so I'm lost.
So it's got like clean male vocals, like his delivery is almost spoken word.
Yeah,
very much so.
So the genre is defined by a masculine sound with clean male vocals with over enunciation at times of words.
Okay.
So which makes
enunciation.
Over enunciation.
So
which
really
makes
clear.
Sense. Because I think something that I comment on this would be a great album to learn German from, because
you can understand every word's very understandable.
Yeah, even when there's a lot of stuff going on, there's very clear vocals.
He rarely does like long notes.
No.
It's usually it's almost like speaking in time.
Yeah, almost.
But occasionally he like belts out some notes.
I would say it's like spoken word.
It's kind of like
poetry.
It's like a German cake.
With a kind of
German chocolate cake.
But with like a, he's obviously singing, you know what I mean?
And then he does sing, and it's like not far from his normal speaking pitch or whatever.
Yeah, he carries a tune in spoken word.
But it works.
It works.
Yeah. I would say this is also like not industrial metal. For me, it sounds like industrial rock.
Yeah, it's not super heavy.
The guitars are very muted and downstrumming a lot of the time.
Mm-hmm. They're chunky.
Yeah.
There's a lot of distortion, but yeah, I agree with you. They're not fast by any means. Mm-hmm. They're not technical.
It's downstroking a lot of the time.
It's kind of like a new wave heavy British metal, like kind of guitar sound. Like it's not super heavy, not like Pantera. It's almost Motorhead.
Almost like Prodigy, kind of in a way.
It's not necessarily heavy. It's just chuggy because he's. Yeah. The tone of his guitar, and it sounds even more punk to me because it's not very heavy.
It's a light distortion for sure.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And Well, I mean, they got like the keyboards and the synthesizers that goes
There's
on.
tons of synth on this.
In fact, there's like an orchestra that comes in at one point and stuff.
Mhm.
So,
But it's like, it's heavy, and it's usually, the pace is pretty quick. Like,
Yeah.
it's rocking the whole time.
Yeah, it's heavy without being fast. It's heavy in the term that it's down tuned.
It's like mid-pace the whole time.
Yeah, I agree.
The arrangements are pretty predictable. Like, they're not like being experimental with the, what they're doing with these songs are pretty much straight up.
I would agree.
It's like they're trying to write bangers, like, typical pop song arrangements in Germany.
So I kind of feel like if you don't know what Rammstein sounds like, you've probably been living under a rock.
That's kind of true.
I think everything that they've played on the radio kind of sounds not sounds the same, but it has the same
It's almost like that same rhythm.
Yeah, almost.
I would also even say that, I mean, definitely the instruments do that, but also because of the vocalist, it does that too.
Mm-hmm.
Like the way he, like, his timing and stuff even is...
It's a very signature sound.
And it's close to other songs I've heard,
Oh, for sure. So what did we like about this album?
I like that there's a bunch of bangers on this.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to listen to it as a whole album. You can just pick out the songs you like, and they sound great.
Mm-hmm.
And this is all in German.
Yeah.
And from being a native English speaker and not knowing any German at all, this sounds awesome. German is a cool sounding language. I listen to a lot of black metal that's also German, and that language has a different sound to it, and it sounds like heavier and darker. So him just saying German words, like kind of nonchalant, like we are saying words in English right now, sounds way cooler.
Oh, for
with
sure.
like guitar and stuff underneath for sure. And for his like kind of monotone that the vocals are, there are parts where he kind of like opens it up a little bit with longer notes, and it creates some epic emotional moments. And they sound great on this. Like because of the contrast, when he does do that, it sticks out big time, and I think it sounds really badass. I
would say like the heavy guitar distortion on this is probably one of my favorite likes. They don't use it all the time. Like there's kind of like this really industrial fuzzy kind of sound that they use quite a bit, but then when they do go with the down tune and the really crunchy kind of sounding guitar, it sounds really good. Like you said, the vocals are powerful, and speaking German would normally bug me, but like you said, it's so clean and it's so clear that I'm not feeling like I'm missing something. I feel like I could look up the word and learn it pretty easily. Every one of these tracks is different. Like, you don't listen to track one and then hear it again later on in the album. Like, everything seems kind of like a completely different track. That was one thing that I really liked.
I agree.
About it.
Yeah, totally.
I really like the electronic parts of it. I think that's a driving point in it, even.
It's like key to the sound.
Yeah, and some of the sounds that are coming through and everything. Another German band that I'm sure they're influenced by is, like Kraftwerk.
Yeah.
I like those parts in it. I think that should be in music more often. And then I like he's like downstrumming, with like, palm muting. It's like the Ramones, all downstrokes. It's very rare that he does, you know what I mean? And so it's a signature, and I think that's why it gets a little samey, but I kind of like that about it. And I love the vocals, and I love that it does sound masculine.
It sounds masculine for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, I love it.
That's one of the things I don't like about it, though, is that, like you're saying, the samey guitar. A lot of that like rhythm that they have on the guitar starts to kind of get repetitive.
I would agree.
And there are lots of repetitive parts. He repeats words constantly. Like every song, they're repeating something over and over and over again, which is kind of like, I feel like what they're going for, right? They're going for a more like electronic vibe and a more catchy kind of
I feel like that's kind of a signature of like the electronic sound, the dance kind of sound.
It's like why I don't like dance music. It's just, it's repetitive as shit, right? It just gets monotonous. And that's kind of my dislike for this. Other than that, I thought it was...
Germans are like into dance music.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to avoid it.
Yeah, like it's pretty insane.
But it's also cool at the same time because you go to a dance hall over there and this is the kind of dance music they play.
Which would be way better than the shit we play at clubs here.
Yeah.
Well, like I went to Austria, which is not Germany, but I went to Austria, and I asked a family member, like about Rammstein, and he was like, "Ugh." Like, he's younger too, and he's like, "It's just old guys that are like blah blah blah," and I'm like,
You're like, you just crushed my dreams. Yeah, so I would say that the leaning towards the industrial 90s, early industrial with the fuzzy kind of guitar is my biggest turnoff for this, along with what you said, the repeated parts. But I think the biggest thing for me is that standard industrial sound that happens towards it's not a lot. It's just, I think the first track is like that.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's a couple more throughout it, but that's the biggest thing for me. That was like instant flashbacks to the 90s, and I was like, I don't even want to listen to this. But it wasn't through the whole thing, and so it actually, I was kind of surprised.
I didn't like that it starts to sound the same a little bit, but I would say that the good outweighs the bad for me in this record.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would agree with that.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's more things that I liked about this and things that I didn't like about it.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of sat there, even though this isn't my style of music, I kind of sat there with my notes saying, what didn't I like about it? And I really kind of had to think hard about it because there's such variety about it that I think it outweighs the things that I don't like.
So there's not much you didn't like about it. So what'd you give it for a rating, Casey?
So I gave this a 3.6 out of 5. Mainly because these dudes know how to write a hook. I think we were talking about it outside earlier. Every song on this album, whether it's a good song or a bad song, has a catchy part that you're going to get done listening to and you're going to be humming along with afterwards.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if like that's just the club style, the club scene thing going on, or the dance thing, or the industrial part. But I really feel like yeah, it's like you listen to it, and even if you didn't like the song, you're going to get done with it, and you're like, oh, why is that stuck in my head? Why is that melody stuck in my head? Why is that part stuck in my
I
head?
can hear it all right now.
Yeah, and I don't know if that maybe has something to do with, like you said, because they repeat it so many times that you can't help but have it stuck in your head, or if it's just really that catchy of a song. What about you, Matt?
I give this a 3.1 out of 5. There's a few bangers on here. It's a cool sound. Like you were saying, I went and listened to the whole album again, but I would definitely pick out tracks on this for sure. There's some definite bangers on here, but it doesn't hold my attention very much.
Mm-hmm.
How about you, Nate? Would you rate this?
I give this a 4.0. I enjoy the vibe of it. I enjoy the themes behind the lyrics and stuff, which we didn't really touch on, but I like the vibe of it. Yeah, I give it a 4.0.
Nice.
The album artwork's sick. It's a good full package record. It sounds like a good 4.0.
This is Blenderstyle. That was Rammstein, Mutter. Blend.
Blenderstyle.